Welcome, Summoners, to Games Cast by PanderNyrl. If you wish to see more commented games, follow my social media pages below. Okay, looks like we are into the picks and bans of Giants versus Mouse Esports. Looks like we are going to have fairly standard bans coming out, with the exception of the Cassidy ban, as Elise, Evelyn, Twisted Fate have been banned out. Cassidy has been banned out along with Dr. Mundo and Rise. Very interesting choices for the last few bans, as Cassidy, Mundo, and Rise are usually not banned out, though I do see why Rise would be, as he's just been a really strong champion this tournament. When he's been picked in the mid lane, he just snowballs into the late game and does so much damage. Not sure why Mundo's banned, as he has not been a very popular jungler as of late. He's fairly tanky and does a good job jungling, but he just doesn't have that CC that many junglers really require to get the job done. And it looks like Giants will be picking up Katarina, which does leave Kayle open, and it looks like they are going to immediately grab Olaf and Kayle, grabbing two very strong champions for Mouse side of things. Well, let's see what the Giants grab here. It looks like they might be able to grab an Ezreal, would be my guess. Likely something like a Zyra or Sona, possibly even Lulu. As AD carry and support would be a great choice here. Katarina can go in the top lane or the mid lane. She's an excellent champion at both and synergizes well with teams that have a lot of damage, so that she can really clean up in the fight. Looks like we are going to have Kayle and Olaf, which is a really devastating combo, as Kayle can throw the speed buff onto Olaf, and Olaf can get to that back line in a split second. There's no amount of CC that can stop him. And I'm just kind of curious why they let those two champions go for a Katarina. Katarina is a good champion and all, but it's not first pick, first ban material. You could easily pick her up later in the draft stage, as she is a good champion, but she's not Olaf and Kayle good. Giants are taking their time here, and it looks like they might go with Lee Sin. Lee Sin would also be a very good choice. It looks like Lee Sin and Nunu are the picks, leaving the AD carry and either the top or mid lane open. Unless they want to run Nunu in a solo lane, but we have not seen that in basically ever, as he's basically a counter pick at best in a solo lane. As we do have Lee Sin as an amazing early game jungler, able to apply a lot of pressure and really control the jungle for the first half of the game. Later on, he doesn't have that much pressure in the jungle, as he just either doesn't get the damage or tankiness he needs. But I do suspect him to be tanky, as a really strong front line for this Katarina to really snowball. In addition to that, Nunu's been a very highly contested pick when they don't want to pick out Lulu or Zyra, as he is a real good support and he synergizes well with any AD carry, as he does have the ability to make them move super fast and attack even faster. Looks like we are going to see a Leona pick up the first ones of the tournament, but Leona Ezreal is a great combination, because Leona can go in and Ezreal can easily proc off her passive, and it also keeps the backline incredibly safe. It gives mouz a nice form of initiation, and that's something they could really use at this point in time, as they do have Kayle and Olaf who can slow someone down and set up a perfect Leona ultimate. And that should be a great combination coming out from the mouzsports side of things. Giants do have a few choices here, but I'm not sure they're actually going to pick up. They do need an AD carry, and I suspect they're going to pick up a mid laner as well and have Katarina run top, which has been fairly standard this tournament, as Katarina up top usually builds very tanky, usually something like a Haunting Guys into Warmongs or the other way around. My personal preference is building the Haunting Guys first, then Warmongs, but it's up to you. Both are perfectly viable builds, especially if you can get some damage coming out here. And down bottom, I think a Caitlyn would be a good pick. I believe they were the team that run a Kennen AD carry earlier in the tournament. I don't remember exactly, but it looks like they are going to go with a Hecarim. And so that looks like their lanes will be an AD Kennen with Nunu, with Hecarim in the jungle, Lee Sin either top or mid, with Katarina taking the other role. And that's a pretty good lineup, as that brings a whole lot of damage, great initiation in CC, and I did not see that last pick up, but we will see in a moment as the game will slowly reset. Not sure why they had to drop out, but we will see. And this is a very good lineup for the mouzsports side of things. They just have a whole lot of damage coming out from their team, and they have the Kayle ultimate that really punishes mistakes, and a lot of times teams will die for that last kill. Someone's sitting at 100 HP. Even if they're in that glowing Kayle ultimate, they still try and go for her. That's just one of those things, and that's why Kayle's been a very good champion this entire tournament. In addition to that, they do have the Olaf, who's been very highly contested. And both of those champions have been good in every single lane they play. They've basically gone in every single lane as well, in every role but support or AD carry. And we are going to have a quick remake, hopefully. Not sure exactly who that last pick was, but let us find out, and hopefully it will be quick. Okay, looks like we are into the game. The last pick for mouz was Renekton. And it looks like we are going to see a Zyra in the mid lane for Giants. Lee Sin in the jungle. Katarina likely going to be up top. Looks like we did have a spectator mode bug. And we are not going to be getting the natural colors. And we're going to have that annoying spectator mode tips feature right in the middle of the screen. But it should be all fine and good. I don't think either team really is going to do any level 1 trickery. Though it does look like Kennen might be going top with Nunu. And they are going to have a lane swap. Zyra is a pretty good 2v1er. Same thing with Katarina, as they are able to really bounce around the map and last hit from a good distance away. While Olaf is going to be in the jungle for mouz. Renekton up top is not a very good 2v1 laner. He just doesn't have that ranged ability to really hit things from afar. Problem is for Giants is if they do a lane swap, Leona could easily jump in on someone and really punish them down bottom. And that's what it's going to come down to. If Leona can land a good combo on someone, they could go down for first blood. If not, Renekton is going to be really bullied around in this top lane. So we're going to see what's going to happen, as both teams are going to have to figure out how to deal with this. Looks like we are going to have Lee Sin starting with a blue buff. While we do have Olaf likely going to be starting with his own blue, as we do see Kayle and Renekton picking up the wolves. Looks like we do see Leona and Ezreal waiting down bottom to just pick up something. If Katarina tries to get in lane, they're going to jump on her the second she enters. And I think it's a really good move out of them. Katarina will be caught down bottom, as we aren't going to be actually go look at it, but she is going to be caught very low and is forced to flash away. And is basically in a whole lot of trouble down bottom. Beautiful play there by mouzsports, recognizing the lane swap. Olaf is top lane, as Nunu does try and come up top, but Olaf will be starting red, so he's perfectly safe. And mouz is definitely going to get an advantage here, as Lee Sin is really far away from his buffs, and he has to make a long trip around. While Olaf is going to have the race available to him in just a few moments. Zyra against Kayle is a pretty even matchup. Both of them are basically going to last hit and wait for a jungler gank, as the junglers should have a fairly easy time getting on either one, as Kayle slow is fairly potent. In addition to that, Zyra's roots are incredibly powerful, and Katarina is in a whole lot of trouble down bottom, still sitting at level 1. Renekton level 1 up top as well, both of them sitting at 2 CS, and neither one I'm having a very good time, though Renekton has now just hit level 2, thanks to that little bit of extra experience in the jungle. And Katarina has picked up a third minion, and this is not looking good for either side of things. That lane swap is really killing their off laners. And I think it's a bigger deal for Renekton, as Katarina just needs levels, really. She can basically tank up and get enough damage. Question will be, will Lee Sin be able to come down here? But I don't think he is, as that is a beautiful ward placed by Leona, really preventing a counter gank coming in. And Katarina's doing a good job of just farming up now. Renekton's doing a nice job as well. And as these lanes push to the tower, Katarina's going to have a much better time doing anything. Olaf is going to come down here for a gank. And if Leona can land her combo on Katarina, they should be able to kill her for first blood and take this tower. If they don't, then Katarina should be able to push the lane back. And it looks like they are just going to jump in on her, as Katarina is still taking fairly low. She does jump on Leona's. Leona does flash away. Leona in a lot of trouble here, as Katarina does dodge the axe. And Katarina will pick up first blood on Ezreal, as he just took too many tower shots. And that is going all wrong for mouzsports now, as Lee Sin jumps in there and should be able to pick up a kill on Leona, as his slow is just way too strong. Teleport coming in from mid lane, but Leona does go down. Kayle and Olaf do have a slow throwing through, but both Katarina and Lee Sin can just jump away. Zyra coming down bottom, trying to apply some pressure to Olaf, and she will be able to do so, as she is just trying to block him in. As the plants do come out, though Zyra will be going down, just getting a little over aggressive as they do flash forward. And not a bad trade now, but still, you lose first blood to a Katarina and give her an assist. And I thought Zyra going down there wouldn't be such a bad decision, but she just got caught incredibly far out there with no real way to escape. If she had flashed earlier, it might have been a good idea. But that's a real terrible dive by mouzsports. They really misplayed that, allowing Ezreal to take the tower for that long. And it means Katarina is going to be in really good shape compared to Renekton, as she does have that kill and assist. And Lee Sin has picked up a kill as well, meaning they are going to have a real good time. And though the thing is, the jungler for Giants has not been able to come top, which means Olaf and the bottom lane of mouzsports should be able to pressure this tower pretty heavily. As Kennen and Nunu don't do a whole lot of damage to tower. They do a good bit, but Renekton has a fair bit of wave clear, though he is burning his potions incredibly quickly, as Kennen just stuns him every single time he tries to come up and last hit. And that's just the power of Kennen as an AD carry. His ability to really apply pressure in lane is where he wins out. And mouz will be able to take this tower for free. Outside of giving out those early kills, Katarina has picked up a ruby crystal, likely going to build that into a haunting guise. Kennen going to do a good bit of damage to his top tower, but it's not going to take it before the rotation comes in from the mouzsports team. mouzsports do have a slight lead thanks to taking that tower, and it looks like they are going to be able to rotate top, and Ezreal will be able to pick it up, though they are going to leave Katarina free for a little bit of time. She does have teleport should she need to go up top and 2v1 again, as she did a pretty good job of it and is beating out Renekton fairly handily, though Renekton did save the tower and is doing a very good job of that. Renekton has hit 6, same thing with Katarina, and we are going to see Lee Sin trying to do a bit of counter jungling, but instead decides back up, and it is going to be 4 people up top for the mouzsports side of things, and they are looking to pressure this tower very heavily, as they might actually be able to get it unless Lee Sin can get in here. And I don't think they want to dive Lee Sin. He's just a little too tanky at this point in time. Though he will be able to land a hit on Renekton. Will he actually jump in there? I don't think so. And mouz is doing a great job of rotating around. Lee Sin does have to go in, and a nice use of running in there, as you did see Leona try and take the tower for a few moments. Lee Sin won't be able to do anything about this. And 2 towers will be taken down by mouzsports right away at the 7-minute mark. Kennen coming up there trying to get something down. Renekton does pop the ultimate as Leona does jump in, and that Nunu will be able to jump over the wall with his flash. Kennen in a lot of trouble, but he is able to lightning rush away, and that is a win up for Giants in that team fight. But they do lose the tower as Katarina is teleported up top, but is not able to get anything done with that teleport. And mouzsports really capitalizing on Giants' confusion with the lane swaps. Even though the Giants did initiate the lane swaps, they weren't able to do enough damage to the tower, as they didn't have their jungler to help out. If Lee Sin went top instead of bottom, he might have been able to pick off this tower, as they just needed a little bit of extra damage. But the thing is, Kennen is significantly ahead of Ezreal, though they are about even in gold. Kennen's ahead in CS, and I do believe mouzsports will lose the tower fairly soon, as this Kennen is incredibly powerful, especially in the laning phase. Zyra doing a very good job of pressuring mid, though she is down about 15 CS to this Kayle. Jungler's Lee Sin is up pretty significantly in CS, about 7 at this point in time, and has picked up his first item, the Madrid's Razor. Well, Olaf is going basically for a naked Warmongs, is what it looks like. Kayle going to be picking up a Stinger fairly soon, as Renekton is going for Warmongs as well. Could be building a Sunfire Cape first, as Lee Sin does come down bottom, but Kayle immediately backs up, not wanting to deal with the 2v1 lane. Olaf will be taking blue buff for himself this time. Unless Kayle comes up there, yeah, it looks like Kayle is actually going to come up for a blue buff and take it for herself. We are going to see the lanes basically go back to a bit of a farm fest, as Giants has done a good job stemming the tide after losing those 2 towers, as they have taken most of the gold lead away thanks to those kills, and we are going to see just a farming war for a few moments, as neither team really wants to engage in a fight, especially now that most people are 6. Though I do think Kennen and Nunu will take a fight up top in a few moments, especially if they can get a good Kennen ultimate and set up the Nunu ultimate as well. Looks like Lee Sin has come down bottom for a gank, and we are going to see it happen as Kayle should be jumped in on the second she comes near that bottom bush. And it looks like Kayle will be popping her ranged ability. And with Righteous Fury on, she does have the ability to hit from distance. and is basically baiting out. Lee Sin will be able to jump on the Katarina. Nice ultimate by Kayle, though, prevents a lot of that damage, but Lee Sin kicks her back. Though kicks her right out of the Katarina ultimate, but Kayle will be going down here as long as Lee Sin can land that Sonic Wave. He does miss it, so Kayle will be safe. He just duked a little towards the minions, so if it did, it would be a very hard shot. Olaf is going to be coming top lane. I do think that will be spotted out by the Nunu Kennen the second he actually leaves that bush. And Kennen is a level up onto Ezreal at this point in time. Ends up a whole lot in terms of CS, and is doing a great job of just harassing this Leona down. With that increased attack speed of Nunu, Kennen can really apply those marks of the storm and get the stun off at every single opportunity, and Leona's not going to be able to engage here unless he really gets something going. And it looks like there is a ward up top, as we do see Ezreal taking a fair bit of damage, and Kennen and Nunu are just going to back up. Kennen's still playing fairly aggressively though, but Nunu does have to back up, and they do believe they're going to try and just bait out a gank by Olaf and make him stay as long as he can. Though Kennen wisely just throws another shuriken at Olaf, meaning he can't recall and is going to be forced to back up. The game is almost tied up despite Giants being down 2 towers at this point in time, with only a 400 gold difference. And that really comes down to Kennen being incredibly far ahead of Ezreal at this point. And that's a good sign for Giants, as AD carries have been incredibly important in this tournament. Kayle going to do a lot of damage to Katarina, but Katarina should be just fine. She's going to be going for Warmongs first. As Kennen applies a whole lot of damage, Kennen does pop the ultimate, and there goes the Nunu ultimate on top of it. But it is not enough, as Kennen is going to be forced back. Kayle does pop her teleport, and Nunu will just be able to run away. Nunu does flash the axe by Olaf, and everyone is just fine. Olaf will flash forward and try and get on Nunu as the exhaust does come out. Olaf does have his ultimate if he wants to pop it, but I don't think he is. It looks like Nunu is just going to sacrifice himself up top. And that is a whole lot of Summoner's Burn for just a Nunu, but a kill is a kill. And that extends the lead of the game to 1,000 gold in mouzsports' favor. Looks like Katarina is going to take this opportunity to push bottom, but Renekton is going to come down. Though I don't think Renekton's going to have a good time against Katarina. Katarina should be able to bully Renekton around at this point, just thanks to the fact that she has a few more items and a little bit more health. But neither one of them is going to have a whole lot of damage against the others. They're both fairly tanky. And Renekton does do a good bit of damage to Katarina during that exchange. It looks like Lee Sin and Zyra are going to be pushing this mid lane, as the rest of the mouzsports team does collapse in on them. But I do think they spotted Kayle out with a ward. Yes, they did. And they decided to back up. A rather good move. And this global gold is really helping out mouzsports, as it looks like they are going to go down, pick up this dragon. Great map control by them. And this should keep them in about a 2,000 gold lead. And it's really helped them out this game, as they have not had the lane pressure they need, but they've had the objective pressure. And it looks like we are going to see dragon taken down by Leona. Though the problem is, this Ezreal is going to be pretty far behind, as we do see Kennen taking the first tower for Giants, and it is now a 1,000 gold lead. And it looks like the entire mouzsports team is looking to take this last outer tower, as the ultimate does fly from Leona. Katarina jumping in for a good bit of damage, Lee Sin jumping in, but the Kayle ultimate flies a little early on Renekton, as a nice roots by Zyra come out rooting too. And Lee Sin just applying pressure, and that middle tower will not fall. Kennen deciding to come in as well, and we are going to see a 5v5 engagement here, as both teams are looking to poke the other one down. Renekton is not in a position to fight now, as he does not have his ultimate. Beautiful roots by Zyra, and with Kayle ultimate down, that's not going to be very favorable fight for mouzsports. They really need that ultimate to bait a fight in, and it looks like Kennen does take down another tower, equalizing them out and perfectly equalizing the gold. And it looks like Kennen and Nunu could easily rotate down bottom and push this bottom turret, as this Kennen is really farmed, sitting at 122 minions at the 14-minute mark, and right on his tail is Kayle, who has just now picked up that Nashor's Tooth. Not sure what Kennen's going to be building first. Could be going for an Infinity Edge, as I think that would be a rather good choice, as he's going to have a whole lot of protection, as both Katarina and Lee Sin are going Warmongs. Zyra's building fairly tanky with that Rod of Ages, which I think is a great choice here. As mouzsports doesn't have a whole lot of damage. They have a good bit, but it's not that ridiculous amount of damage you see coming out of some team comps. So she builds a little bit of extra health. She'll be just fine throughout the mid game, and she won't be bursted down at the beginning of a team fight. Looks like we are going to have Lee Sin holding the mid lane, as Zyra's going to go rotate around. but it looks like she's just going to be picking up the race, not actually coming down bottom, as Kayle is down bottom, as Leona does throw out the ultimate, but Kennen wisely flashes away. He does get the lightning rush off, as we do see a teleport coming in from Katarina. Katarina's immediately exhausted, as we do see a good bit of damage coming on to Kayle, and Kayle will pop the ultimate on herself. Nunu getting close, he does pop the ultimate. Kennen lightning rush forward, and does get the kill onto Kayle. Very nice teleport in there, and use of the lightning rush by Kennen, just barely getting out there. Leona jumping in on Kennen, but there's the Ezreal ultimate, and that means Leona will go down thanks to Lee Sin rotating in as well. And this will be a third tower taken down by Giants, and they are now taking a very hefty lead, thanks to the fact that their AD carry is in a ridiculous situation at the moment. And especially a Kennen. He can protect himself with his ultimate and just continually chain stun someone that's trying to get in on him. Olaf will be able to prevent that chain stun though. Though the big thing also is he has a Nunu with him, which means he's going to have a whole lot of attack speed. And anyone that tries to get on him after that initial burst of the either dash in from Renekton or ultimate of Olaf is not going to do a lot of damage. Looks like Zyra is looking to take the blue wraith, but Renekton is going to come in as well. Just throwing out a ward, trying to prevent Lee Sin coming in for a gank. Looks like we are going to have mouzsports side group up in the mid lane, looking to finish off the outer towers, which Giants just did, and even up the towers at 3-3. But it looks like they're not going to get the chance, as most of the Giants team is there, with the exception of Kennen, who is likely going to go for that Infinity Edge first, as he has picked up the pickaxe and BF sword. He does have a bit of lifesteal as well. Not sure what Ezreal is going for, and it looks like he's going for the Infinity Edge as well, going for a lot of damage. Both teams have a pretty tanky front line, with Leona, Renekton, and Olaf being incredibly tanky, while Katarina, Lee Sin, and Nunu are almost equally tanky. Katarina and Lee Sin have picked up their Warmongs, with just Renekton grabbing his Warmongs, though Olaf should be picked up the next time he goes back to base. Zyra will be picking up her Rod of Ages at any point now, as both teams just continue to farm out this mid game, and we're likely going to see the next engagement on Dragon, as neither team really wants to fight, and there are not any real close objectives. The only real objective on the map at the moment is the mid tower for Giants, but with just that mid tower, it's not an objective worth fighting over at this point in time. It's a good objective to get, but it's not worth risking your team for. As the game goes longer, that tower will basically be given up, as any of these far outer towers are not worth really defending after about 20-25 minutes, and they can just take it for free. Dragon will be respawning fairly soon, within about a minute and a half's time, and that should be a pretty good objective to go for, as everything will be up then, with the exception of the Katarina teleport. As we do see Kennen just farming away, looking to get every bit of farm. He's sitting at 171 CS, just completely dominating this game in terms of creep kills. And that's exactly what you want to see out of this AD carry, almost 10 creeps a minute. And he's just doing an amazing job. Katarina waiting here for Ezreal to come down, as Lee Sin is spotted out, and she just decides to jump in as she does see Ezreal back away. Looks like Kennen and Nunu are rotating down as Dragon's about to respawn. And I do believe it is up just now, as Lee Sin and Katarina. No, it's not. I misspoke. It should be up at any point. Kayle is going to be split pushing top, and it looks like they are going to have to send someone to deal with her, or she's going to take down this tower. And it looks like Katarina is the choice, as both of them have teleports, though Katarina's is not up yet. Kayle wisely backs up before she gets in any real danger, and there is the Dragon respawn. Both teams are going to vie for it, and I do believe the mouzsports side has realized Katarina does not have her teleport up, though Katarina is going to be engaging onto Kayle and getting Kayle fairly low, so she won't be teleporting into a good engagement. Zyra just throwing out a little bit of harassment, as neither side really wants to engage this fight, as it will be a very valuable fight for whoever wins it, and they don't want to take the big risk. It's a big risk just for a Dragon at this point. Giants are up slightly, but that's not enough. The big advantage here is Kennen. Kennen has completed his Infinity Edge, while Ezreal's still down the pickaxe and the combined cost, which is a real big amount of damage, especially if you can get one or two early crits. get that early crit, get the Katarina resets, and then you're on your way for an easy team win for Giants. Especially now that Katarina's starting to get that magic penetration, she should have her haunting guys up fairly soon. As we do see Nunu picking up every single support item. Leona picking up everyone but the Kage's lucky pick so far. As we do see Kayle picking up the haunting guys, likely going to go into the Audrey's Torment for the fairly standard Kayle build. And we are going to see 2 Warmongs up, 2 for each side. And Zyra will be picking up the blue buff, and it looks like we are going to see an engagement down here. As Katarina's teleport is now up, Kennen just trying to harass from a distance, and it looks like that will be a free dragon for the mouzsports side of things. Wise decision by Giants not to engage there. Katarina would have come in just a little too late. And it looks like they are going to come up here and try to pick up this mid tower and zone mouzsports out. But Kennen's just getting a little too aggressive. I think he's getting a little cocky, considering he is up pretty heavily in CS. Katarina pushing this top turn, but I don't think he's going to be able to get it. Though they are looking for an engagement on the Giant side, as they do have all their ultimates up, and they're going to have a real good fight if they can put them all together. Looks like Kayle is able to defend this top turret, and the score is fairly even with about 1,000 gold separating the teams, mostly due to Dragon Gold on the mouzsports side, while Giants had picked up an extra tower and a few extra kills. Red buff being stolen by Lee Sin and Katarina. Not sure, looks like Lee Sin does pick it up. And we are going to see both sides go back to farming, with mouzsports side really wanting to push down this middle turret. Lee Sin and Katarina are coming up onto Kayle. Will they be able to pick her up? Katarina does do a good bit of damage, but Kayle flashes forward and is safe. But you burn Kayle flash for that, which is a really important skill in team fights, as it does allow her to just move around and not get pinned down, especially if Lee Sin can land a good combo and just jump into that fight, slow everyone on the mouzsports team. Kayle can't get back or forward to engage or disengage in a fight. Katarina continuing to split push, as she does have her teleport available. And teleport with Katarina is a great ability, as it allows her to come in the fight just a little bit late and pick up some of those last minute kills and resets. Looks like the mouzsports team is trying to get onto Kennen, as Kennen sits at this bottom tower, as looks like they will be spotted out. And we will see the rotation of, looks like everyone, though Nunu will be able to see Renekton there. And it looks like we are going to have a 5v4 fight, unless Katarina comes in. Though a wise decision by Giants taking the long way around and not getting caught by this Renekton and Olaf in the jungle. That would be a real terrible thing to do. As Lee Sin does spot them out, Katarina can continue pounding on this tower as Ezreal fires his ultimate off yet again, and is going to be able to take down those last few minions. Though Katarina does get away without a single tower shot. And because they rotated everyone bottom, they should easily be able to tank up this middle turret and take it down. Lee Sin could jump in there, but I don't think he wants to just yet. Zyra roots do catch out too, and it means Renekton does pop his ultimate early. Ezreal was exhausted. Kennen pops his own ultimate, and Renekton's in a lot of trouble here. The Leona ultimate hits one, as we do see Katarina come in, picks up 1 kill, picks up 2, picks up double kills, and that's what the power of Katarina, really snowballing that team fight, and she is going to pick up Ezreal here, as Kennen does actually finish it off. 4 for none exchange in favor of Giants. Beautiful play there by Katarina, coming in just in the right time. Zyra roots catching 2 to start that fight off. And Kennen doing an excellent job with his ultimate, getting a few people in just the last second. And this should be barren for Giants, and they should be able to snowball a significant lead after this. Great team fight for them. mouzsports got a little over eager, as they didn't just poke the tower with their ranged characters. They actually went in with some of their melee characters to tank it up and finish it off. And they just got caught out. Nothing more than that, as we do see Renekton picking up a brutalizer. Kayle finishing off that Leodri's Torment, soon to have his zeal up onto Ezreal. Leona has picked up the Sight Stone and additional Philosopher's Stone. All the support items are up on Nunu. We do see Kennen likely going to be going for that Phantom Dancer next. Katarina going to go for a Zanya's Hourglass after picking up that Haunting Guys. Could go for a Deathfire Grasp as well. Both perfectly viable options on her. Rod of Ages finished up on Zyra, in addition to the needlessly large rod. Deathcap would be an amazing choice on her, as her damage is really good with it, and she has enough tankiness from the Rod of Ages that she's not going to get burst down. And I don't think she's even going to be a real priority target in this fight, as once she blows her combo, she doesn't bring a whole lot else to the team fight. The plants will continue to fight regardless. And the big deal is getting to Kennen, as Kennen's damage is pretty heavy at this moment, sitting at 213 CS. A little bit ahead of Kayle, but way above everyone else other than Kayle. Looks like Lee Sin, I'm likely going to pick up an Aegis of the Legion next, and to a Runic Bulwark. That would be my choice here, as that is a very good option. You could also go for a Lock of the Iron Solari with that Ruby Crystal, as Nunu is going to try and come up here and contest Kayle for the blue buff, and Kayle is forced back as she does not know where the rest of the Giant side is. Towers are even at 3-3, but the big difference here has been kills, and the Giant side just picking up kills where they need to and really catching out mouzsports in that one really bad team fight. Looks like Katarina is split pushing as well, as her teleport is up, and it looks like we will have a free tower taken by Giants. 25 minutes into the game. Baron buff has another about minute and a half left on it, as it is about a little over halfway done at this point in time. Looks like Kennen is going to be pushing this mid lane, and the entire Giants team, with the exception of Katarina, is going to go for a 4v4 fight mid, though Zyra is going to push that bottom lane heavily before trying to group up with her team. Looks like Katarina is going to be caught under tower, though trading fairly well with Renekton, as the Baron buff does keep her heal and give her a little bit of extra ability power. She's doing a very good job this game of rotating around, and thanks to a little bit of misfortune early game, has had a rather amazing start and has really snowballed that in that last team fight. Looks like we are going to have Giants just continue to pound this tower as Lee Sin does tank it up. Kennen doing a really fast attack. He is sitting at 1.9 attacks per second and is absolutely destroying these towers. And that means that every second and a half or so he is going to land a stun, as he attacks ridiculously fast. And he can just pop those charges with his second passive and then just get the single target stuns on anyone who gets close to him. I think that's what the Giant side was doing with his Kennen pick. Is Kennen is basically protecting himself with his ultimate and stun. It looks like Olaf is getting slightly caught out here, though it does not get the stun landing, as Kennen does not get the charge off. Ezreal will throw his ultimate out, but it doesn't matter, as Kennen's just going to tank up this tower, or Katarina will, as Katarina has a bit more health, and they will be able to finish this tower off 5 towers to 3, as Giants really uses Baron buff effectively, clearing out the jungle of mouzsports and picking up 2 towers. Baron buff almost over, and we are going to see Lee Sin trying to engage Olaf. Olaf does get caught slightly by Zyra, but I don't think he's going to be taken down. He doesn't even have to burn his ultimate, but he is not in very good shape, as Lee Sin will tank up this tower, and they are going to be able to finish it off. 3 towers taken down during the duration of that Baron buff, and a rather excellent use of it by Giants. They have snowballed themselves about a 6,000 to 7,000 gold lead, and we are going to see them back up. Likely shop, is that's a lot of gold to pick up on each of your characters. We're likely going to see the Phantom Dancer finished off in the start of either a Bloodthirster or another Phantom Dancer. Could go for a Last Whisper as well, but I don't see a whole lot of armor coming out of the mouzsport side of things. And it looks like we are going to have Zyra going for the Zhonya's Hourglass after picking up the Death Cap. Aegis of the Legion soon to be completed onto Lee Sin. Death Cap completed up on Katarina, looking to do a whole lot of damage in these team fights. And I like this choice of a Death Cap. She's tanky enough now that no one's going to stop her in a team fight, so she can easily just jump in there and deal a lot of damage and not die. Kennen has picked up a Bloodthirster, meaning he's going to be able to sustain himself perfectly in these team fights. And we do have a Shirley's Reverie up onto Nunu, meaning he wants to be able to engage or disengage as he so chooses. And this has been a real good game for Giants. Outside of a few mistakes early, not rotating people to catch mouzsports picking up those 2 early towers, they've really felt like they controlled the game and have played the game the way they want to. Looks like Kayle is going to go for a Death Cap next, as she has picked up the Zhonya's Hourglass. It would be the best decision at this point in time, as she just needs a little bit more damage. She does have a good bit, but I don't think Deathfire Grasp or a Zhonya's Hourglass would do her much good this game. Looks like Olaf is picking up some armor in addition to that Kindle Gem, likely going to go for the Lock of the Iron Solari, as that would give his team just a little bit of extra health and team fight power. And it looks like we are going to see Giants just grouping up as 4, waiting for the next Baron, and having Katarina just distract the enemy team. And with Katarina distracting the enemy team, it means the Giant side could get a fairly free Baron, especially if he decides to go bottom. She does have the teleport to easily get to Baron, should an engagement arise. And Nunu doing a great job of just clearing out all the wards in the enemy jungle, especially around the Baron side of things, which means that mouzsports can be fighting completely in the dark and could easily run into a trap or just a bad engagement. Though they do have a few good ways to actually check bushes, as the Olaf axes do see into them, as that is one really good way to check. And it looks like the Giant side is going to try and catch someone as destroys Reveries pop, but no such luck. As while they did get close, they just never got in close enough. Katarina has popped a blue potion and is looking to start something off, but I don't think she's wise to go in first. She really needs Lee Sin to go in there, soak that initial damage, then have Katarina come in and start cleaning up. Katarina just throwing out a bit of harassment, and this Leona just hasn't had a really good start. She had a great try early, but it looks like we do see Lee Sin coming in there with a nice slow. He does flash forward, kicking Olaf back, as Zyra does throw her ultimate down, and that means Leona does go down. Renekton right behind. Kennen coming through and getting the stun onto Kayle, and this should be a rather easy inhibitor if Giants so choose. Though it looks like they are going to back up and take Baron first. An excellent team fight from them, as they just coordinated their ultimates incredibly well. And Lee Sin's doing a great job of initiating these team fights. He just jumps in there, plays that real tanky guy, absorbs the first kind of wave of damage. Then the rest of the team just comes in casually, and it looks like there is a surrender vote coming out from mouzsports. They just didn't have an answer for that Kennen and Katarina snowballing. Excellent play there by the Giant side of things. Thank you for watching Games Cast by PanderNyrl. For more commented games, please visit my YouTube and stream channels.